if we have a grandma and grandfather, anybody who's left us some land, and we want to make sure the folks ain't coming for it.
Wow. Now you are speaking my language. A revocable living trust that you set up, I believe everyone should have one. I don't think that it's a tool that just rich people use. I think it's what it does allow you to do is walk into a trust is really just a document. So it could be anything. It could be money. It could be a car. It could be land. It could be a house. It could be it could also be like life insurance proceeds. And what it is, it's a legal document and it's called a trust. And you get a trustee of the trust who's the trust in a trust store. And what you have to do is you fund that trust. You take those assets. So in my case, I have a life insurance policy. There's beneficiaries. Well, I could leave it to individual beneficiaries like my children, but that allows me to disinherit. Like my child can then go get married and lose that money in a divorce or something like that. So what I do is
Welcome to Big Texas Bossin', the show where we spill the Texas tea on the bosses that I know. Today, we have my dear friend, Alisha Melvin, the lawyer, here with me.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin' with Lalani Wilson-Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin' Up.
Welcome, Alisha.
lawyer to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Woo, we go back a little ways, so we won't be shy about that. But let's talk about some things. Let's talk about your beginnings, because everybody doesn't know that you weren't a lawyer for umpteen years. So let's talk about how you started in New Jersey and the things that you did in New Jersey.
Okay, well, I started my career as a hairstylist back, in the 90s. And as a hairstylist, I had big dreams, just like I did when I started my career as a lawyer. And those dreams were basically to end up one day doing entertainers. And I opened my first salon. I had a child, so I was a young mom. And that was going to be my way to get what I call out of the hood. And that was going to be by doing hair. And I had seen so many artists growing up in the hip hop community. And I just one day said, I want to be on television. I want to do some of those artists. And so I worked my way behind the chair for many years, just serving the community. I've always put my heart and soul into whatever it is that I do. And I was throwing big hair shows, and finally somebody called me and said, hey, we got signed with Puff Daddy. And at the time he was Puff Daddy. I think he's Love now. And
he's been here a few names.
Well, yeah, it's been a couple of different names. I can't remember all of them, but they signed with Sean Combs, and that was during the time when they had that City High riot at the high school, and a bunch of folks had got trampled. He was Puff back then. That's right. It was Puff. And so, I'm thinking, I can just think back. So I think I'm reminiscing, right? Because Wendy Williams was on the radio. She was getting kicked off for calling Puffy different things. And we were so... She sure did, right? She had to go to Philly for a while before she got back to Hot 97. But at the end of the day...
Angie Martinez was on, though, wasn't she?
Angie Martinez came on at some point, but back then, Wendy was like controlling. Angie Martinez was doing it for a long time. You're actually absolutely right. I just don't remember the dynamics. I don't know who took her place. I don't remember who took Wendy's place when she ended up going to Philly. Needless to say, I got that call from a stylist. Back then it was Mama Sib and then Misa, which is, Puffy's youngest son, his baby mama. She's also a fashion stylist. So, I got to work with, I got the call, showed up on the set and, started doing entertainers from that point. So I got to do like Lil' Kim. I got to do Foxy Brown, Monica, Faith. And then of course I did every album cover, for Total, and then came Louis Vuitton and all the different companies. And so, I made hair like it was an amazing career.
Did you ever work with Mary?
I did not ever get a chance to do Mary.
Okay.
Never, and I just have to be honest, I never had a chance to do Mary. What happens in that industry is most of the time folks stick with the their person.
Right.
So if they start out, unless they're traveling and have to, be in Atlanta or other places and they can't bring you with them. But most of the time, if they can bring you, they take you.
That makes sense. I mean, I take mine. So it only makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how did things evolve from there?
So basically, I was still doing hair in the salon. So, I mean, I did have a private room in the hair salon at that point. And I had multiple locations by that time.
Oh, wow.
In Easton, Pennsylvania. And then I opened in downtown Allentown, had different managers running. I mean, I taught those stylists a lot. Bunch of stylists. Back then I was paying those girls really good, girls and guys, really good money to come and just be assistants because I had a process in my salon that you had to start as a shampoo assistant. You had to learn how we all did things consistently so that we can have like a consistent brand at our different locations. And so that was really important to me. I still served clients. I still put on shows. It didn't matter because in hair, in entertainment, you're only as good as the last thing you put out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yesterday doesn't matter.
Right. So. It doesn't. It's like you'll send that portfolio off and you remember the wig video with all the different colors from Little Kim back there.
Yes.
That's like my idea. And I did that with the girl named Joy, who was, what was the name of the group? Can't remember the guy, but you would know it was Goody Mob. And it was one of the guys, she was married to him. And so she was also like an entertainer. And I started off with this white wig and put this blue strip and it just went from there. And I just started getting requests after my mama said, put me on. And of course, as a stylist, the makeup artist, they'll say, oh, who do you know? Or they'll see your work. And then that's just how it blew up. And so I was still behind a chair and serving clients and traveling all over the world, Japan, just all over, touring.
Wow, touring. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And just had a really good time. And then I had a blood clot in my leg.
Oh, wow.
And that was where I decided that I probably needed to do something different. And because the circulation problem just changed my life. And so that's how I said, okay, I got to figure out a backup plan because I'm not going to be able to stand behind a chair the rest of my life.
So what year was that when you realized you had a blood clot?
Oh, my goodness. So, well, I really don't remember the exact year anymore, to be honest with you, because I've had a couple since then. But maybe once every 10 years I get a clot and then I have to go in the hospital. It's like, where did this come from? This is so crazy. But now I'm monitored with medication and things like that. But it was I think probably closer to having my son. So maybe when I was maybe 27. So that he was born in, I think, I don't want to say that. I ain't telling you on my age. Hold on.
He was your second child?
Yeah, he was my second child.
Okay.
Yeah, he was my second child. With my second child. So I don't say, let me back up and say, I think it was when I got pregnant with my second child is when I had that clot. And, it just, and I was able to go back to work. So I still work, but I wore, one of those compression stockings and I kind of just knew my time was, limited. Yeah. And I couldn't do it 10, 12, 13, 14 hours like I used to because Lord knows when I did hair, chair was busy. I was always booked. I'm hopping New York, they send a car for you.
Right.
They send a car.
I love that about
They send a car, you hopping in and out of cars and you got your bags and I would always have a crew. I always, had assistants with me to help me carry and like cater to people. Cause one thing about entertainers, they got to be catered to.
All right. So let's talk about you were winding down your career and you made the transition to Dallas. How did you get from the East Coast city girl life to Dallas, Texas?
I met a guy from Arkansas. I met a guy. How else do we get anywhere? We meet a guy. No, I'm just kidding. We get there with our education and all that, but I met a guy.
Okay. And he
He
was
lived
living
here.
in Dallas? Okay.
Yeah, he lived here. He was based out of Dallas. And believe it or not, he came to my hair salon. He was in town on business and he came to my hair salon, and my auntie, he just was talking and everyone's like, where are you from? Cause he had the down south twang. Yeah, the drawl. Yeah. Or the twang, and we say. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. And so that's how that whole thing kicked off. And, fast forward, and I packed up my stuff. Well, he packed up my stuff, and we got engaged, and I came to Dallas.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. So you moved the family to Dallas, and what do you do?
Stayed home.
Okay.
First of all, I'm sorry I had to laugh at that, but to meet the man, to stay at home, this was an option that I actually thought that I wanted. It was a blessing to have that during the time that I was raising my kids. My children were young, I'm a firm believer that your kids need you the older you get, those high school years, those middle school years. And so I wanted to be around, for the children. And so I stayed home, believe it or not.
Okay.
And
I'm finding this hard to believe.
Okay. It didn't last long. It lasted for a good long time, but at some point I was like pulling out my hair. I had to go back to work. There was, but I did a lot of things. I still, I would do the girls for prom. I would still like play in hair and do different, play with the girls or dress them up and take them places. So I did that kind of stuff, but I just went into mommy mode and enjoyed that. And then, the goal was to go to college, right? And I did not have college. I had a GED, something a lot of people don't know about me.
It's a good fun fact.
Yeah. Because as a young mom, I wanted to, I begged I begged my mother to sign me out of school so that I could work, because, as a young girl, I was like, I don't want welfare. I don't want to get welfare. I don't want public assistance. I want to work.
Right.
And I promise you, if you sign me out of school, I'll get a job. I'll go take the GED test the next day or as soon as it's available, and I will get a job and start working. And that's what I'm going to do for my child. And my mom, she did it after, she sent me down to try to sign up to get assistance. And she came home and she said, how did it go today? And I said, I didn't go. I didn't go. I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted from my life. And so, she signed me out, and I went and took the GED test, and I got a job, and I just started working at like a 7-Eleven or something like that. Okay. And 7-Eleven, Wendy's, Burger King. So yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Nice. And so she helped you in the beginning.
My mom.
Yes.
No, she kicked me out.
Oh. I'm thinking we're going to have a Cinderella story, and it's like, no, she kicked me out.
I'm sorry. Okay. No, she kicked me out. She's like, I got 3 other kids. I don't have time for a girl with another kid. And so,
wow.
Yeah.
So where'd you go?
I got my job and I got myself, I can't believe I'm telling this story. I've never told this part of my life. I got a job. I made some money. I went to live at like a rooming house until I could move into an apartment. And then that is really how I started.
Right. So you had the baby with you in the rooming house. Mm-hmm. And But that's awesome.
I cannot believe I'm telling this.
I think it needed to be said because everybody doesn't have all of the glass and mirrors that you expect. And so for the younger person out there who is in the struggle, it's wonderful to know that you had a struggle and you succeeded, and how you got there. Your journey, is miraculous. And I think the fact that you had your kids, you did the hair thing, and you were on one level, you settled down, came to Texas, and then you worked your way up again through law school. And that's really what I was trying to get at. How did you decide, okay, I want to be a lawyer? You go from GED, mom, beautician to lawyer.
Yes. I always wanted to be a lawyer. And when I was younger, that folks would say,
me too,
that girl needs to be a lawyer.
I wanted to be one, but that wasn't in my cards. There hasn't been.
Yeah. But and so it was just always in the back of my mind. And so when I had the opportunity to kind of settle down, take a look at my life and what I wanted, one of the things that I always wanted was to be able to go to college. I mean, but in my family, my mom, like I said, was a mom of 4. She was a single mom. She didn't have much. She didn't have college. Not a lot of people, most people in my family, I think I have one aunt that did college. Even though they worked in education, my grandmother was in the cafeteria or, they were in the schools, but there was only one aunt who actually went to college. And I just always wanted it. But it was kind of like if you didn't get a scholarship and, but what was I going to do? I was already 16, 17 and becoming a mom.
Right.
So there was no scholarship in my future at that point. And so I just basically had that in the back of my head. And so, when you first move to a state, you have to give it like a year to get in-state tuition. So what I did was while I was, serving the children and running them the games, and Brianna was a cheerleader, the first Black girl cheerleader in Allen, and probably the only for a very long time. Yes. It wasn't until recent that they got a captain. Running around with her, I ended up enrolling in school and I started my classes, and I'm telling you, I did not know what I got myself into. I took the test and I did have to do like some basic math classes to kind of bring me up to par in order for me to get, learn algebra and all that stuff. But I started at Collin County Community College, and at that time it was called Quad C, and now I think it's Collin College. And I went ahead and just started the pursuit, and I had this crazy aggressive plan to do it in 6 years. And believe it or not, I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Law school and undergrad.
That was good in 6 years. So you were just going to school, raising the kids, going to school.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you still in the relationship? Or?
I was still in a relationship at that time.
Okay.
But until I went to law school, for whatever reason, I did the relationship, I was leaving the relationship and I left right before I started law school. I was thinking, gosh, you should have just finished law school. Like, why did you make your life difficult? So I had to turn back to do hair.
Okay.
So I did hair on the weekends, and then I drove every week for 3 years, right, of while school during the semester from Dallas to Houston. And I did not work during the week while I went to law school, but I would drive back and I would be here by 5 a.m. on Saturday mornings, and I would see what was the Breakfast Club. And some of my friends from that's how I met Cynthia, from the Breakfast Club. And Miss Diane, actually, she's one of the supporters of that. Phenomenal women who supported me. They're, of course, educated and women, and they supported that. They believe in education, and they were like, okay, we'll be here for you every Saturday until you get this thing done. And I got it done.
That was awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
That is. Now, where did you go to law school in Houston?
I went to Texas Southern, Thurgood Marshall School of Law, HBCU. All right. Yes.
That's wonderful. So you stayed down there during the week and then came home. Where were the kids?
Well, I had a friend, my white girlfriend, Melanie. I hate to say it, but it's true, because she opened her door to me. Most times people don't open their doors, especially when they have husbands and children and family. She opened her doors, and she said, I'll help you with Bree. And when you come back, I didn't even have to have another place to stay. I was able to just go back to their house right there in Allen, Texas.
Okay. Well, shout out to Melanie and her family.
Hey, Baker. and Daddy Chuck. You have to say Daddy Chuck. And so, they helped out, and my son was actually friends with her son. And, that's how they went to Montessori school together and all this other stuff. And then we became friends, and they extended that olive branch to me.
Oh, that was definitely grace. That was definitely.
Absolutely. All the way and all along.
So they let you go to law school. They kept the kids for you.
Yeah.
And then.
They kept my daughter. My son, he didn't want to stay at his friend's house. It was kind of like weird for him to eat. Yeah, that's my friend, but I don't want to live with them, Mom. So he was younger. So I let him go to my mom, because I don't know if anyone knows, but your first year of law school, you don't know if you're going to make it. there's this thing called a curve out that they do. And if you don't meet the curve, which is, how they grade on the curve, if you don't meet the curve, you won't make it, in law school. So that first year was critical because I had no idea. Am I going to curve out? Am I going to make it? I know several people who curved out.
Oh, wow.
Actually 3 people that I studied with, which was scary because they didn't even have a job. I had a child, I had 2 children and I'm like working on the weekends and you curved out. Oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be me. And because I had a GED, I had no idea that I thought I was behind everyone in my head because that Socratic method that they teach in law school was something that I wasn't accustomed to. Okay. And so I just always felt like, oh gosh, if I had a traditional education, and I'd say, inner city education is a little bit different than Allen, Texas education. You know what I'm saying? And then you have that, right? So that's already a little bit of a disadvantage. It seemed to be. But I just thank Texas Southern University for allowing me to attend Thurgood Marshall School of Law and get that Juris Doctorate. And we made it through those 3 years. I call it me, Yolanda Adams, and country music, driving up and down that road.
Going down that I love it. That's the way it is. So tell us about, you finished law school. And what was the goal? Where did we go from, I finished law school, I passed the bar, and now I'm the lawyerter?
Oh, well, I want to be honest with you and I want to kind of get through this quickly for you. But, I ended up having to, I ended up doing hair to try to put myself, like I didn't have money like other people. I finished law school.
You still did hair?
Yeah. Okay. I still had to do hair because I had to figure out, I wasn't one, the law has so many different aspects to it when you're coming out of law school. You're either going to go in your top 10 or 10% at a typical school. At an HBCU, they're going to look at your top 20 to 30. Like, you got to be somewhere in there. Well, they look at our top 10%. They'll look at other schools 20% and stuff like that. Right. So it's a little bit different. You usually have an offer within your second year if you're going to go for a firm. I never thought the firm was going to be the way that I would go because I was a mom and I couldn't just change from being a mom, and having these kids in Allen. And my goal was to, get back to Allen quickly and make sure that I'm there with them so they can get to college and doing their thing. Right. So I also did not have money to study for the bar. I did not have money for a course to pay for a course. Right. And so I had to do hair. And what I did was I would wait for the SMU students to take their test. You're an SMU student.
Yes.
Well, those fortunate rich kids that get to go to SMU. Well, so I did that. I would go to the half price bookstore over there. Yes. Not too far, right by North Park. And I waited till they took their exams. Right. Okay. And then I went and bought their Barbary books that they would sell. And then I brought them home and then I taught myself because I didn't have the money to take a course how to pass the bar. So I still had to do hair while I did that. Okay. And I did that. And then I decided after I passed the bar, I was like, oh, I'm going to open up a practice. There's no way I could just why would I go work for someone else? And from that day, I passed that bar and, that May, and I opened that practice by the end of that month. So here's the funny story. I had my hair shop, so I got a little salon suite, and then I got an office in the next building. So I would run back and forth. Yeah. I would change clothes and I'd be a lawyer, and then I'd go back and I would change clothes and go back and put on a cape and do hair. And that's what I did my first few years. Okay. People, they don't, they see the glory. They don't see the struggle. Right. They don't see what you did. Always the way. They don't see that little cash Kia car and all that stuff that I had to go through. They see the 8 cars now, they don't see, they now like, oh, the rain, the fence, this.
For the land and everything. See how that the designer handbags, everything. It's like, but there's a story behind it. There's a struggle in the story, and it just teaches you, the reality of how everybody can become something.
By the grace of God.
Mm-hmm. And having the will and determination. So you were definitely persistent in pursuing the different things that you wanted to. And I love that you stayed true to hair. Mm-hmm. You stayed true. That was your foundation, and you just continued to build upon that to make you better. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like you went into wigs, which you could have done to make a lot of money, because they're doing that now. You wanted to do law school, and so you did it.
Yeah.
So it's about achieving your dreams.
Altruist Home Healthcare is one of the top accredited home healthcare agencies servicing North and East Texas. With over 25 years of caring for Texas families, Altruist network of staff has become the preferred provider of physical and occupational therapy, wound, post-surgery, and primary care within the comfort of your home. Altruist Home Healthcare works in conjunction with you, your loved ones, and your primary care physician to provide stellar care with honor and integrity. For more information on our services, visit our website, www.altruisthhc.com, or call us at 214-328-8600. Now back to the show.
So let's talk about the terminology, the loiter. Where did you get coined the loiter?
Oh my goodness. I made up the word. Actually, I didn't make up the word. A client made up the word. So let me shout out to Keith Norman and his wife, Natasha. I was showing them a house, and I was showing them houses. They were buyers. They were going to purchase, first time purchasers. And, actually one of his friends called and said, "You are not going to believe this. We walked into a house and the people had snakes in the bathroom, and they didn't even tell us that there was snakes in the bathroom." Huh? And he says, well, I'm so glad that didn't happen to us, because I would have to call the lawyer. Because he said, my realtor is not just a realtor. She's a lawyer too. And she would have, done something about that. Yeah. And he's like, "Do you want her phone number?" So he calls, and I'm at dinner with them now after showing them properties, and he makes up this word. I'm like, Keith, I'm taking that.
Right.
And so I turned around. I have to go and get me a little application with the USPTO. For anybody that doesn't know, that's the Trademark and Patent Office. And I trademark the word. The reason behind it, the word, is because people told me you couldn't do it. Like, how are you going to be a lawyer and then sell property and also be in real estate? And they just, everybody just thought, oh, you stick to one thing. And I was like, but Beyonce could sing and dance and act and have clothing. Make movies and this. And and I get it. I get what they mean. The longevity of doing anything matters. Right. And I definitely understand that now. That longevity matters, how long you stay in it through the ups and downs and the hard times. That's what actually makes it and makes you, better as you go down the road. Right. But it was just, okay. So I said, I'm going to trademark this, and I'm going to go ahead with it and prove people that you can.
Right.
That you can take, something, because So one of my ways out of real estate back in the East Coast before I moved here was I studied for the real estate license there. And that was back in the day when we didn't even have electronic MLS. We were flipping through books and all that. And so
you had a real estate license when you came to Texas.
But you know what? I had a Pennsylvania real estate license, and they don't have reciprocity. So in order to do it in Texas, I would have had to do it all over again.
Right.
So I didn't do that until after law school.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it all over again after law school. But yeah, it was just me setting out to prove that you can do the law and you can do real estate. It took me a while to figure out how to merge that. And so today what I did is I combined just the practice of real estate law, and any kind of real estate issues, probate, and trust, which if you don't have any real estate, why are we in probate? And if you don't have, you know, and if you have a trust, it's obviously because you have assets. And so I did that. I took that. And then on the brokerage side, it's the sales. So in your legal, you're big bad, you're a lawyer, you're supposed to be, it's just so, people can't really talk to you. And that's just not who I am by the nature of me coming from the hair business.
Not at all. Not at all. Very approachable.
So I just was like, no, I'm just going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to make sure that people can approach me. I'm going to keep the personality that I have. And it's so funny that I didn't go in an entertainment law, right?
Right. That's funny. And then I think the thing that people need to know about you is that you don't mind being on the battlefield.
Oh.
So let's talk about some of the cases that have brought you to the battlefield and what people who may not know, genuinely may not know because of the lack of education, but the thing that they need to do when they get in a real estate crunch, because we hear things all over the country. Black woman, 85 years old, trying to take her land in South Carolina. 90-year-old woman in Georgia, Tyler Perry helps out, trying to take her land. Talk to our viewers a little bit about how these things come about and what we can do to prevent them if we have a grandma, grandfather, anybody who's left us some land, and we want to make sure the folks ain't coming for it.
Wow. Now you are speaking my language. You are speaking about what I am so passionate about. One being heirs property. The laws that are in place right now, with heirs property, they're pretty bad laws. They're pretty much set up and I deal with this on a lot of ways. The heirs property is set up to there's a system under Chapter 23A of the Property Code that specifically, Texas Property Code, that specifically talks about heirs property. And what that section of the code does is it allows the courts to come in when there's a disagreement. So let's just say you inherited a piece of property as a family. Most of our ancestors, a lot in the South, and I've noticed that about being here, have left big chunks of land, lots of acreage, a lot of times 40, 50 acres, hundreds of acres. And what I'm finding is that the way that they left it was the way they thought it best. They thought that the family was going to protect that land. They were going to come together. They were going to till that land, toil that land, and make a living off that land, which is what we all need to get back to. And so they thought that they were doing the right thing by leaving that property to the group, right? To everyone in the family. But what has happened in that situation is you get heirs, and all you need is one person to come around and convince one of those heirs that, hey, sign this property, sign your portion of the property, and that's called an undivided interest. And so that person, that outsider, is coming in and in a lot of cases becoming that undivided interest owner with that family. And then since the family doesn't want to live on it, they move right on the land. They start helping out, paying the taxes, and then they and then they go to court and they file a petition under Chapter 23A of the Property Code, and they try to split off the heirs property. It is, it's a big deal that's happening. I think that there needs to be so much more legislation and reform in this particular area. It is not just happening here in Texas. There's that Silver Dollar story, that's on Prime right now. Is it called Silver Dollar Lane? It's happening all over, but that's just one of the situations, but that's one of the bigger ones for me. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, and this is what I do for the public, which is why I do pro bono work, a lot of pro bono work. I take free consult calls Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the community. I open that up. I do not get paid for that. I sit on that phone, and sometimes I'm taking an hour with folks looking up deeds, looking up titles, trying to figure out how we can help families protect their land, because the courts will come in under that chapter and they say, hey, if you don't get along, you don't have to be in it. You don't have to, if one family member disagrees, you don't have to be an owner with the other. And guess what they do? Force the sale of that property. And then if the other family members can't buy it out, if the land goes to someone else, they force the sale.
So we should actually be leaving it to one person or putting it in a trust.
Yes. And we should be leaving it to, preferably in a trust that can dictate how things would go, how you would, divvy up the property. And just like I believe in trust for everything that you do, even if you're just a simple person who has a regular job, a revocable living trust that you set up, I believe everyone should have one. I don't think that it's a tool that just rich people use. I think it's what it does allow you to do is walk into without having to go through the expensive process and long process of a probate court, or have to determine heirship if you passed away, God forbid, without a will, which so many people do. It allows you to act immediately. It allows you to have that property within that trust, and you can start distributing assets and doing what you need to do right then and there. A trust is really just a document. It's a document that establishes a trust. It's where you would take you have to have assets, right? So it could be anything. It could be money. It could be money. It could be a car. It could be land. It could be a house. It could be it could also be like life insurance proceeds. And what it is, it's a legal document, and it's called a trust. And you get a trustee of the trust, who's the trust and a trustor. And what you have to do is you fund that trust. You take those assets. So in my case, I have a life insurance policy. There's beneficiaries. Well, I could leave it to individual beneficiaries like my children. But that allows me to disinherit. Like my child can then go get married and lose that money in a divorce or something like that. So what I do is I take my trust and make my life insurance policy not pay to individuals, but pay my trust as the beneficiary, and then my trust determines how it would get split. And then, of course, you can put whatever, you go to a lawyer to get that. So it's really just a legal document. But the most important thing about a trust is I have this issue happen. Folks come to me with a trust. They got the trust created and they failed to fund it. And that's one of the key facts. You have to put something in it. Even if you just started with, here's the $10, but you want to start putting the assets and renaming them into the name of the trust. So it's a process that we call estate planning. So that's the area of the law. So I'm real property, probate meaning estates, like planning, and then trust. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
That is wonderful, bringing us full circle. Thank you. Now, you've also got another term that's out there. Renaissance woman.
I did not make up that term. I actually didn't even know what it meant until, I don't want to say that, but it's true. I didn't know what it meant. But no, there was a lady that I sent a resume into when I was first getting started, when folks were telling me you can't be a lawyer and a real estate broker. I wanted to clarify that because I said real estate realtor, but realtors just means they belong to the National Association. Then there's agents and brokers. I am a broker. I'm a minority woman-owned broker with my own brokerages in 4 states. So I do.
Oh, that's important.
The difference. So I'm a real estate broker. And what that means is like there's real estate agents, right?
Right.
And every real estate agent, which we go by all of us can go by the term realtor. That just means you belong to an association. But the state of Texas, it licenses 2 individuals and only 2 licenses out there in the real estate realm. Now they do appraisal and all that other stuff, but in the real estate realm, there's only two licenses they issue: a real estate agent or a real estate salesperson, or it used to be salesperson. Now they say real estate agent, or a broker. Every single agent must work under a broker.
Gotcha.
And so real estate broker just means that you've had the education and the transactions that you qualify, and the education, the transactions that you qualify to be a real estate broker. So that's that's the steps above. So you had to have so many transactions within the last four of the last 5 years, and you have to have so many years of experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're licensed in 4 states as a broker.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. Can you tell us how many transactions you've done?
I wish that I could tell you off the top of my head how many transactions I've done, because I've done a lot of transactions. Sometimes it's not just about the number of transactions you do. I just want to say that, but sometimes it's the size of the transactions. So sometimes it's not that I'm doing, because I do residential and I do commercial, real estate. Sometimes my transactions can be multi-million transactions. I do a lot of churches. I do schools. Like I said, I'm minority woman owned, so I'm certified. I do counties. I had Tarrant County contract for the last 3 years. So I've been doing all their real estate. It comes through me. Obviously, there's a bid process that I went through to win those contracts. So I've done DISD. I've done Tollway, North Texas Tollway. So yeah, sometimes it's not just about the volume, although I have several. And on my website, if you want to check it out, I've got this sold properties section, and it'll just give you some of the transactions. But I want to just caution people. I don't care if I'm doing one transaction and my commission is $185,000. Obviously I'd rather do that one, but commercial takes a lot longer. I do not mind doing a transaction that's $200,000 or $300,000. And I know what the commissions on each of those are right off the top of my head. Like when I walk in the door, I know what the commission is. But in order to do the type of volume to match, say, like a $4 million deal in Texas, our average price point is about, we would say 400,000, where the rest of the country, a lot of places, it's maybe 250 or 3.
Okay.
I'd say Texas is more like 4 as our median. And obviously we know it's a lot higher.
Right.
But as a median point, that's how you would calculate how many transactions you need to meet, one that's $20 million, so just take and divide that, or divide the 5 into the 20. And then,
But that's why we needed you here on Big Texas Boston talking, because nobody would have known that you had the contracts, you were doing the big things, and that you were moving the city of Dallas things and city of Fort Worth and all of that. So that's important. That's inspiration.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's talk about how you got termed the Renaissance woman again.
Oh, well, I said that Renaissance woman, what it means is that you are skilled in several areas. You have multiple talents, right?
Right.
And they're not just talents where you're just out here like, oh, I'm a talent. You actually have some expertise in those areas. And I submitted my resume to a lady to try to help me write a bio, and she came back and she said, there's just 2 things I have to say about you. 1, life coach, and 2, Renaissance woman. And I thought, here's this lady from Colorado. She doesn't know me at all. But what I did, I sent her the resume. I said, here's what my resume says about me. And here is a separate sheet of paper of things that people don't know about me. Can you help me merge that and combine that?
Right.
And out of that came the term Renaissance woman.
Wow. I love it. I love it. What would you tell someone, a younger version of you, who had a lot of dreams and aspirations, but lacked the hope or didn't see the future? What would you say to them?
I would say, I'm always thinking about the children and the folks who come,
behind me.
Mm-hmm. I definitely am. And I think that's why I'm so, I have a lot of fun and make a lot of jokes, but I know exactly what I'm doing. I study a lot. I do a lot of continuing education. I do that, to stay on top of my game, because I personally have decided that anything I do in my life, I want to operate in such a level of excellence and service to others. And as that, I don't want to necessarily be a role model, but if you are, you are. I want them to be inspired, I want them to know that you can, despite whatever obstacles. It doesn't matter. Abusive home, single, coming from a single parent family, living in the ghettos. I know the tantrum out there. It's like a magnet pulling folks, to try to keep them down. Some of the music, even though, I love hip hop, but I'm just saying it can pull you down. What I want to say is it doesn't matter. Enjoy yourself, enjoy life, but do not ever give up on your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations. So if you want to be a lawyer, figure out how you're going to get there. And it may be a roundabout way. If you want to climb the corporate ladder, figure out what are the ways to get there. There's so many ways to skin a cat. Right. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to be like anyone else. You can be yourself, but first you've got to educate yourself. And that's not the only way. Education doesn't mean just formal education with college. Education means educating yourself about whatever it is that interests you. We have YouTube University right here, right now. Right. There's anything you want to learn. You can contact people that you're interested in what they do. You want to know how to learn from them. You can reach out to those people. See if you can get mentors. Hang around people that sharpen you. Hang around people that are smarter than you. Yes. These are the lessons that I've learned. That is how I get to some of the places and learn. No one told me how to, I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to be a minority woman owned business with an 8A certification from the, U.S. Small Business Administration. No, I had to learn it. I had to learn it. I had to read it. I had to research it. Libraries are coming back. And right. I would say, learn that, but do not give up. Do not think, no matter what your circumstance is, do not give up hope. Do not give up your dreams, and always have something in someone that you're fighting for. Like, I don't care what it is, something that you want, a goal, because I'm a big goal setter. So meet the goals. Don't just set it, meet them. And I take little steps. And that's one thing that, I am about is small steps. If you just, you may have some setbacks in there, but those small steps will just lead you to the path. And you'll wake up one day and you'll be like, I cannot believe I drove 3 years, 4 hours each way to go to law school. I mean, you're like, I did that. Right. But it was fun getting there. And don't forget to enjoy it while you're getting there. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Even if it's tough, even enjoy the time if you're eating the ramen noodles and you're like, this is all I got. Like enjoying the Kool-Aid, or stopping at, oh my goodness, Frenchie's in Houston. I just used to love it so much. I mean, enjoy the journey while you're there. Even if it's tough, just find a way to have some joy in that.
Right. Tell us what's on the Loyalties Vision Board for 2024.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I don't know if it's a vision. Is it something else that I need?
I don't know.
I don't want any. Well, I need nothing. I literally have gotten to the point where I need nothing. Not another. Let me not say that. Like another bag, but I do want that. That new shawl. I do want that new Burberry shawl to go with those boots. But it's always something,
right? It's always something in fashion. Like every time I say no, I don't need anything else. I don't want, and then it's like they dropped what?
Girl,
oh my God, I got a shawl.
I'm like, it's just perfect. It just works with that. So what was mine for this intentional? So for 2022, it was intentional. Okay. And I created that. I did a little Canva thing. It is the cutest thing. I put it on my phone. It's just like the vision board that I carried with me. I know exactly what's on it because every time I open my phone, I see the vision board. I'm a big proponent of vision boards. I have some of them just hanging, like my old ones hanging. Believe it or not, you achieve those things. But I think I haven't come up with my word. So I usually come up with one word that's a theme, and I still haven't come up with it yet. Okay. I am teaching a lot more this year. So one of the other things that I have added to my plate, but I've been instructing. I've been an instructor teaching Legal Update 1 and 2. So that's another way that I merged the law and the brokerage and the real estate. Was now every broker and and salesperson has to take legal update 1 and 2.
Okay.
And if you're a broker, you manage more than one, like at least one person, you must take broker responsibility. They have to do this every 2 years to renew their license, or you can't renew your license. I only teach legal update 1 and 2 and broker responsibility. In order to teach broker responsibility, you had to have been a broker for 5 years. And so this year on my agenda is I am teaching for Texas Association of Realtors, Collin County Association of Realtors, and I'm going to expand into teaching a lot other topics outside of legal. So I think that this year, I think I'm going to call it like the year of give back. I'm already giving back.
You did.
And I'm already giving back. I give back a lot. I've actually just recently got that pro bono award from the State Bar of Texas for the community service that I do on those, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays when I take the phone calls.
Awesome.
So I think it's going to be the year of the give back. I think that's what it is. The give back, just giving back more to the community.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want the viewers to know?
I want to thank you for having me. This is just an amazing platform. I love what you're doing. This is just
pro bono. Thank you.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. But you know what? The content is good, and being able to put others, the information out there for the community, it's so valuable. I've watched so many of your episodes. And even again, just like we talked about, even if it doesn't seem like the it's right here, right now, don't worry. The longevity, it shows. And I get that a lot from Bishop Jakes. Cause I remember, he's one of my favorite. And I just remember his story, of where he started. And he's like, I preached to the 50, like I was preaching, to the whole crowd. And so that's what we have to remember. And another thing that I say about that is it's not about how many likes and this that you get. If you get those views, then you need to look at the views. The likes is just, that's how many people showed up. You sent out an invitation, you invited 50, 10 showed up. That's okay. When you look at those views and 100 or 200 or 300 saw it, then you know that you've still been seen. So you can't just go by that.
Right.
So you're doing, this is amazing.
Thank you.
And it's an amazing platform. I appreciate it because I love Texas. I love Texas. I love Texas real estate. I love Texas law. And I'm here to just bring it.
All right. Well, now you all know why she is a big Texas boss and where she was on the only show that showcases Texas bosses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Bossin Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Bossin. Tag us on social at #BTB.